Life of love. Life of love. With Joy Hilson.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Life of Love, where we gather every week to explore in our hearts the magic of connecting with those around us, and oftentimes it relates to connecting to ourselves and our divinity. And today is no exception. We're having a divine guest, a divine soul. June Edward is here, and she has been a psychic for her entire life. And so many times we have gifts, but we stuff them in the corner. But her world has supported her in her journey and in connecting with her psychic abilities. And she's said yes to the calling. And she didn't realize she was a medium till later in life, but her abilities are strong. In her bio, I was just blown away by her gifts, and even with a near-death experience at the age of 27, and she came back. So it's always powerful to hear from our divine sisters who are ready to share this. And when you're open to the message and ready to receive it, it can change your perspective through living through their experience. So June is one of those divine souls that has said yes to sharing her story. And I'm honored to have you, June, on this show. She's from Florida and I'm in Georgia.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a delight. It's an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this, and I feel like today was a perfect synchronicity for us. So, I honor this space for creating to, share. You have this great book about love and karma, and, I want to pick your brain, like what do you feel we need? What's humanity needing right now? Let's start there.
Oh, humanity needs a lot right now. I think humanity needs to remember why they're here, because that's been lost, unfortunately. There's a lot playing out in the world right now, and if you chose to reincarnate and be here right now, you're here for a reason. And everybody is fighting about politics, but politics is just the playing field. This is about good and evil. Pick a side and pay attention to the side you're picking, because it's about good and evil. And that's it. That's the bottom line. It's a war that's been going on for a millennium. And every now and then it comes to a head, and it's coming to a head now. And this is why it feels like time has sped up. And we were talking about that earlier. Things are happening so quickly and so fast, because time is just a construct that we created. The faster you move, the slower time is. So the slower you move, the faster time is. That's kind of how it works. On the other side, they're moving at the speed of light. If you look at quantum physics, 160,000 miles per second is how fast they move on the other side. So it's about 3.5 to 4 years of our time to 1 year on the other side. Very different.
So you think since these things are coming up, that's where we feel this loss of our linear time, is because these things are being cleared or brought forward, and we have to jump timelines
so quickly. I mean, we just entered the Age of Aquarius. This is the first and only time this will happen. And yeah, it's an amazing time. It's really going to usher in major, major changes in society. When you think of how fast society has grown, they were using supposedly, stones and, wooden tools, 1,000 years ago? And here we are, right? Think of if you're a little bit older. I'm 60. Think of like the 1960s or the 1970s, right? When they just got microwave ovens and things like that. They didn't have that stuff. When I think of my grandmother, she didn't have refrigeration. She had an ice box. They would have to go down to the pond in the wintertime and cut a chunk of ice out and put it in the ice box to keep the food cold. Other than that, everything was canned or salted. We have made such progress, leaps and bounds. Things are just moving so quickly. It's even hard to catch up.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I felt that way, that I'm just sort of scrambling to keep my head up. And then, we have these modern conveniences, yet we forget. So if you were to examine or give your opinion on it, when things didn't move so fast around, when we couldn't do things so fast, do you think it connected us to the earth more, or
I think it
how did we
connected us
lose
to
our
each.
sense of purpose?
I think it connected us to each other more. And this is what one of the big things that everyone forgets. You know, you're not here. You're here for a lot of different reasons. You're here to have a little mini vacation because you don't have a body on the other side. You're here to collect your karmic debts and pay those back. Okay. But they're helping each other as you do that. There's no such thing as bad karma. Okay. If you stole money from somebody in the past, it doesn't mean they're going to come back in this lifetime and steal money from you. Maybe they'll be your boss and they'll teach you how the value of money, because money is energy. It's why it's called currency. So karma is a good thing, but it's one of the reasons you come back. You're also here to help each other learn the 5 lessons that your soul has to learn to advance on the other side. And, you know, when you think about before all these inventions and things, go back 40 years, we talked to our neighbors. We knew who our neighbors were. If you need to borrow a cup of sugar, run across the street and ask Alice if, you can borrow a couple of. I don't even know who lives near me. I have no idea who my neighbors are. I never see them. We never cross paths. No one talks. It's really difficult. Yeah, it's a challenge.
So what I hear you saying, it might have been more like of a necessity because things weren't so accessible. Back when we talked to our neighbors, we felt more connected to community. We couldn't order things on Amazon and have them come in 24 hours. We couldn't.
Right. Yeah, you could run down to the store. You could have run down to the, this corner store and grabbed the pound of sugar, but why run all that far when your next door neighbor's got some and it's not a big deal? You knew your neighbors. If you were making pies or something, you'd make 2 and bring one over. Hey, she'd love one. She's got 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
It was different. It was very different.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to brag, but my neighbors on the street, I would be remiss not to say that we ask each other for eggs, sugar, butter.
Wonderful.
Aluminum foil. And I have the best neighbor.
That's great. That's great.
We know
because
each other.
It's not the case in a lot of places anymore. It really isn't. And, when someone needs help and they see somebody, say they see a woman getting attacked in a parking lot, they don't go step in and help. My own sister didn't. She walked away and called the store. What is that going to do? By the time the guy from the store ran out, all he was getting was nothing. He's picking the woman up out of the parking lot. Had you walked over there, you would have intervened. The guy would have run off, I'm sure. Nobody wants to get involved.
So it's the idea that you can make a difference.
Every person makes a difference, but it's your choice. What choice are you going to make?
Mm-hmm. Right. And so you mentioned the 5 things we're all here for, and I would love to hear that. And I don't want to forget to ask you about your near-death experience and what you saw, because it's intriguing to me, so I'm going to ask it.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you about I never considered it a near-death experience because I died, point blank. And I've done a lot of research on NDEs for a TED Talk. And what I've learned is that, first of all, your soul is too big for this body. You have some of your soul is inside your body. Some of it is over your body that people can see, and they call it an aura. And the majority of your soul is actually in the lowest level of heaven, the 5th dimension. And it orchestrates the timing of all the events in this lifetime. And it has all the knowledge of all your past lifetimes. So if something's going to happen here, like a car accident, your soul jumps out so that it doesn't feel all that trauma. Because the 2 things you take with you when you go is knowledge and feelings, all of those feelings. So if you're feeling that trauma, you'd be taking it with you. My brother was in a car accident when he was 16, and he was almost killed. And he remembers standing on the sidewalk watching everything unfold until the paramedics came and then he went back into his body. He didn't go to heaven. He didn't die. My girlfriend, the same thing. She had a deer come through her side window, and she's a Catholic, and she thought she did something wrong and wasn't going to go to heaven because she saw the deer's soul go to heaven, and her soul was stuck on the roof of the car, on the headliner. And when the paramedics showed up, same thing. She went back into her body. So these are all near-death experiences. They're all lumped together. So less than 10% of the people that have a near-death experience actually die and go to heaven like I did. So I had injured my back when I was 22, and I put the surgery off for 5 years because I just knew I was going to die. And I got to the point that I had no choice but to have the surgery. And I told everybody before I went in that I was going to die. And of course, they're like, oh, no, you're just afraid. I'm like, I'm telling you. They're like, oh, whatever. So the night before the surgery, I had an MRI test done with a contrast dye. And I let them know I thought I was allergic to it. I'd had it once before and had a very bad reaction. I couldn't get off the table. And they just poo-pooed it off. And they're like, that's common. Everybody has that reaction. I'm like, okay, what do I know, right? I'm 27. I'm not the doctor. And as soon as they administered it to me, I died. And everybody that does get to heaven or to that point, their experiences are a little bit different. I immediately was just taken and was on the other side. And I could still see everything that was happening below. I could see everything in the hospital. I could, see what they were doing to my body and see the nurses talking about it at the station and the room in the back. But as soon as I got there was a movie, basically, like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater, and it was a life review. And I was getting a life review. And it was, again, everyone's different, but mine, it was just all the people that had really helped me in my life and the times in my life that had been very happy for me. What was interesting in hindsight, that my children weren't in there, which was very interesting. Didn't notice it at the time. And then behind me, I heard someone tell me that it's not really my time. I can stay if I want to, or I could go back. It's my choice. And I'm going through my head. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go back for my husband. I'm not going to go back for my family. It's just amazing here. Why would I want to go back? And then I remembered I had 2 very young children here at the time, and that they were the biggest reason that I came here this time, and that they brought me the most joy in my life. And as soon as I decided I was coming back for them, I was back in my body instantly.
Power of love.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And my third one wasn't born yet.
So you didn't get any premonitions about what might happen if you came back, or what would happen if you stayed?
Not at that time. No. Not at that time. I know now that, we make our life plan. It's like make a Monopoly game, and you choose. It's like you're making a game up, and you're deciding who's going to come back with you that you owe karma to, that you're going to pay, and who you're going to collect from. And you decide what's going to happen in your life. So taking your own life is never an out that's an option. Okay. That is not acceptable. When that happens, you actually have to have counseling on the other side before you're able to reincarnate again. But clearly I had written this as an out if I wanted or needed to take it, because I had had a very, very difficult life, very difficult childhood, very traumatic life. And I could have taken it if I wanted to. And my youngest one, his soul would have gone into another child and had the same experiences that he wanted to have. He wasn't here yet. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. And when I came back, you would think that would be the time that all my abilities would have reopened again for me, since I had them as a child. But I still had fear around them. And that's what blocks your abilities, because everyone has psychic and mediumship abilities, but we block it through fear. And I still wasn't ready, but I was getting curious. So I started going on haunted vacations.
Nice. So tell me, I'm curious, when you were a child, what kind of things did you have? Imaginary friends or guides?
My earliest memory was about the age of 3 years old. And I heard somebody calling my name, and I got out of bed thinking it was my parents, and they were fast asleep. So I went back to bed, and I started looking around my room, and I realized there's all these faces. And it scared me. So I pulled the covers up over my face. And as the sun started to come up and there was light in the room, I could see their shadow getting right up into my face. It was very, very frightening as a child. And I would see, people around the house and things like that. And I found out that those were the 2 people that had, died on the property. And as I got older and I knew everything that was going to happen before it happened, I would tell the other kids in school, and I quickly got labeled a freak. So I stopped telling them.
Oh, wow.
And it was difficult. I had a lot of nervous habits, nervous tics, and it's kind of hard to distinguish sometimes, especially when you're young, if someone is real or not real, if they're a ghost or if they're a human being, because I see everything in 3D. So again, I wasn't quite ready after I'd had that experience. But when you think again of quantum physics, my soul was moving at the speed of light at that 160,000 miles a second. And that's how fast it came back into my body. So my vibration is a lot higher than most people's right off the bat. I can connect like instantly to the other side. And about 10 years ago, I guess, I was going through a lot of problems. I was going through a divorce. I was losing my business. I was taking care of my mom. She was dying. And I went to have Reiki done. And she recommended that I meditate. And like everybody else says, there's no way I can shut my mind off enough to meditate. But the first time I tried it, it was like they kicked the door into the other side. They're like, she's ready. And I just couldn't shut it off. I couldn't shut it off. That was almost more frightening than being a child. Because again, I'm waking up in the morning and they're all in my house and I go to work and I know everything about everybody. And I'm like, I don't know these people. And I'm telling them their whole life story. And they're like, that's freaky.
And you're like, I just need to be normal.
I spent a year and a half learning how to turn it on, turn it off, how to protect myself, who I'm talking with. It was a lot.
So that's why you were drawn to the haunted, going on haunted experiences so that you could sort of put your feet into it because you knew there was activity in those areas. Were you seeing things that they weren't seeing?
Yeah, I was trying to get EVPs and, I started seeing the energy again and seeing the orbs again and hearing the voices again. And it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Didn't know I'm going to be doing it for a living.
Did you go to Savannah?
I did go to Savannah. Yeah. Yeah. So, the funny thing is that everywhere is haunted. Doesn't matter where you go. I mean, there's so many hundreds of millions of ghosts that are here. It's like no matter where you go, they're everywhere. They're standing on every sidewalk. And you have to really learn how to protect yourself no matter where you go. And they do congregate in certain areas because we're magnets. We're always either attracting or repelling at any given time. It's just the energy. And, it's like when I've gone to homes that need a house clearing or something, I've found basements full of, like Irish immigrants because when they passed, that was their safe place. They all stayed there. The same thing on the Underground Railroad. I found attics full of black slaves because that was their safe place. So they all kind of congregated when they died because they didn't go into the light for whatever reason. Most of the time it's fear.
Like that's what I was going to ask you. Like what distinguishes the souls that don't go into the light? It's a fear.
Most of the time it's fear. A lot of times I've had people that souls that died because they were on drugs and things like that. And they were afraid that they let their parents down. So they aren't going into the light because they're afraid they'd let somebody down. Or other people that maybe they were gay and they were told that, you're going to go burn in hell because you're gay. So they're afraid to go into the light. I've had a lot of little children that die and don't even realize they're dead because it was either, they were sick, they had fever, something. And they've been walking around for 100 years still looking for their parents. So it's hard for a lot of them. And most of them go into the light for me immediately.
So if you can connect with them and let them know it's okay, you've seen them transition.
Yeah, if I can bring a family member through to make it a little easier for them, I do. But the only people that I have trouble bringing into the light are ones that really enjoy what they're doing here and don't want to go, or they've killed people. Once they go, if they don't have remorse, they go downstairs, not upstairs. So I can't help them, and I can't tell them what's going to happen once they go into the light, knowing that they've killed someone. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. It's just such a universal, like people spend their lives being scared of dying, and so to have some kind of idea that living your best life and trying to address fear so it doesn't control you can make a huge difference.
Trust me, this is not living your best life. Once you go to the other side, that is absolutely living your best life. It's just amazing.
Making the choices that can get you there.
Yeah. Well, there's really the only ones that are not in heaven, quite honestly, is if you take someone else's life and you have no remorse. That's it. Or you've sold your soul to the devil. Those are the only two reasons you would not go into the light. And he's a forgiving God. I mean, if you have remorse, you've taken somebody's, soul and you have remorse for that, he's a forgiving God. And there's only one, just so everybody knows. There's a million religions, but guess what? You get to the other side, there is only one, and you can call it whatever you want. Source energy, God, Buddha, doesn't matter. There's only one. Everybody's in the same place. Sorry to tell you.
Right, this idea of separation, that's what's holding so much of
Well, there
our
are
things
different
back.
levels.
You have to pick a line.
Yeah, they've described it to me that it's kind of like a layer cake on the other side. And you go to the dimension and the layer based on how advanced your soul is and your belief system, so that you're with kind like minds for the most part. And again, in this body, I can only go back and forth to the lowest level, the fifth dimension. But they did allow me to see the upper dimensions when my mom died. I actually saw her soul leave her body, and her family and Archangel Michael bring her to the higher dimensions on the other side. Yeah. So I was able to like just watch it.
And then it must be so much easier to know she's there. And
Oh, yeah.
and
They go back and forth all the time. She visits all the time.
she visits.
Yeah. Yeah. They
And
love to be remembered. They don't want to be forgotten. They kind of still living this lifetime, even on the other side. So they're still connected to everything they did in this lifetime while they're on the other side until they come back and reincarnate again.
Yeah, I've asked relatives and friends to give me signs. I'll say, show me something, and I always get something.
Yeah,
I always
will,
get
absolutely.
something.
You just have to pay attention. Absolutely.
Mhm. There's a song, the way a candle burns. I've had so many different objects just left where I didn't put them there.
I know. I remember coming home one day and finding a big turkey feather, this big, going up my staircase to the second floor. I lived alone. And I had just had a flock of turkeys at the golf course in between us trying to hit the balls. And I didn't look up the spiritual meaning of it. So when I got home, here's this turkey feather. I'm like, oh, okay, I will look up your message.
Look it up. You gotta look it up. I had that this morning. I was walking my dog, and I'm not kidding you. There were 10 turtles looking at me.
Yeah,
and
it's
usually
a
when I
message.
turn
Anything that's out of the ordinary is a
Yeah.
message to you from the other side.
I have to look up turtles.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great. Wait till you look that one up. I think I've gotten that one before too.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
Because usually I know that they like hide from me when I come around the corner. Like they just go down quick. But this morning they were all peeking at me, and they didn't dive away. So I'm like, oh, this is something.
Yeah, anything anything out of the ordinary is a message. Yep.
And then you can just look it up. I've done it. How do you
so
look
you
it
always
up?
want to look up the spiritual meaning of.
spiritual
That's what you want to do. The spiritual meaning of, and you'll get 3 or 4 different meanings. Whatever meaning resonates with you is the meaning that was meant for you.
Perfect.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a free. I've done it before. It's a free search.
Yeah.
But you're right. You have to put the spiritual meaning of.
Right. That's what's important, because otherwise you'll get all these other things,
So, okay, question. The zombie type ghosts that you say they're in the basements and are part of
Well, they're
their
not
souls.
zombies.
To me-
zombies.
to
They look
me,
like you and me. They're just regular people. They just don't have a body.
Okay, so they don't look like dark, like
No.
They look like you and me.
Yeah.
But you can tell they're stuck
Yeah.
here.
Well, they wouldn't be here if they weren't stuck. So everything's energy. Everything in the universe is energy. So you have to really get attuned to feeling energy, okay? Everybody sat in front of a fireplace and they felt the heat come off, right? That is energy. So we as human beings vibrate in the 500 range. When you talk about energy, frequency, vibration, it's all just different words for the same thing, okay? Once you've gone into the light and you're traveling at that speed of 160,000 miles a second, your vibration's really, really high. And you feel that. You almost hear a buzzing when they're in the room because it's such a high frequency, high vibration. And it's hard for them on the other side to even learn how to slow their vibration down enough to be able to communicate. When I'm bringing one of them through, sometimes they've learned to slow themselves down enough so that they can talk to me. But even at that point, they're talking so fast, I have to let them talk through me because I can't repeat it fast enough. Otherwise, it's just a charade game. And other ones have learned to slow their energy down enough that they can, hit the light and make the light blink for you or move an object, things like that. But it's that. So if anybody wants to watch the movie Ghost again with Patrick Swayze, and he's trying to move an object and his hand keeps going through it. It's because he's got too much energy. He's trying to slow his energy down enough to be able to move it. So when I experience a spirit here that's technically a ghost because they have not gone into the light, they vibrate at the same vibration as a human being. So for instance, when I was doing some missing person cases, if they've gone into the light, I can tell them right away that they've passed away because they're on the other side. But if they have not gone into the light, if they don't want me to know that they've passed away, I have no idea. I think I'm looking for a living person because the vibration, the energetic vibration is the same.
Okay.
One day I was in the grocery store in the morning shopping. I usually go right after the gym. And I see this guy at the front door as I'm going by with my carriage to check out. I see this guy, and he looks like a homeless guy. And I thought he was a spirit, but then I wasn't sure. So I looked a second time. And when I did, that's when he's like, "You can see me." I'm like, "Oh, no." I said, "Listen, I'm not working." He goes, "You need to talk to me." And I said, "I'm not sorry, but I'm not working right now." He got angry. And there was a display
when you said
of
that, I'm sorry, did you say it telepathically or did you say it out loud?
No, telepathically.
Okay, because I was like, and people are thinking, well, when you have your earbuds in, they think you're on the phone. So it doesn't matter now.
No, telepathically. That's how all the conversations kind of occur.
Okay.
But there was a display of hot dog and hamburger buns there, and he got mad. So he picked up a dozen and he threw it at me. And it came off the shelf, and it really only went about 3 or 4 feet. But the poor girl at that register saw it happen, and she looked at me. She goes, "Oh my God, did you just see that?" And I'm like, "Yep." I just smiled and kept walking.
You didn't rat him out.
But they look like everybody else. It's no different.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I love that, and I would love to connect more, but then like you said, it's like learning to turn it on and off
and a lot of it's fear. So another great example, my dad, when he was dying, was 93, and he'd been in bed for about a year with cancer. And I'd go visit him all the time. And one day I went up and he said, I want to ask you a little bit about what you do. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. You thought it was a big joke. What do you want to know?" He's like, "Well, I want to know why every time I wake up in the morning, I see my mother standing next to the bed." And I'm like, "Well, she's going to help transition you to the other side when it's your time." He goes, "Well, that's not really what I want to know." I said, "What do you want to know?" "Well, how come after I wake up, I only see her for a few seconds and then she disappears?" I said, "Dad, she didn't disappear. She's still standing right here next to me. She has not left." I said, "What happens is your brain kicks in and can't believe that she's there. So that's what's stopping you from seeing her." And that's what happens.
You could verify what she looked like to him, and
oh, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Now, do you think that gave him comfort? Did he change his attitude after that, or
unfortunately he had dementia because it had gone and metastasized to his brain.
Gotcha.
But I think he understood a little bit more. Yeah.
I read a book and I talked to this man who he did astro travel, and he stated that people with severe dementia would go up into the other dimensions and have experiences with their soul.
So what I've learned,
it's so hard to connect down here.
Yeah, what I've learned of people that have like Alzheimer's and things like that, they wrote it into their plan. It's part of their life plan. And as much as we think they're suffering because, it gets to the point that they're just in bed all the time and they don't know who you are, they're really not suffering because, I've had plenty of conversations with them. They're literally reliving all the good times they had in their life, like when their kids were little and things like that. And they're really just enjoying that time. They're not suffering, honest.
Well, that's going to give my mom a lot of solace because one of her good friends is going through pretty severe dementia and, very confused. And she, she's worried about
tough
Debbie.
on us because we don't fully understand it. And to see someone, you think they're going through all that, but they really did write that into their life plan, believe it or not. And they are just doing a lot of remembering. Yeah. Living in, the good times of their past, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the best thing just to send them love and compassion and accept.
Absolutely. Help them physically when you can, because, they're basically, like he said, they're on other astral planes almost for the most part. They're doing the past thing. And what's interesting too is after your soul leaves your body, I mean, you can do it here because you can project more of your soul outside your body if you wanted to astral project. I've done that quite a few times, but time travel as well. I've only done that, but I've brought souls through from the other side and, asking them, oh, what are you doing? And I remember I had one who was telling me that she was time traveling. She was going back in time to all the historic places like the pyramids and stuff. And she was very upset because she said that all the history books that we have written here are wrong. And then the person that I had that was doing the reading for, they're like, yeah, it makes sense. She was a history teacher. I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? How cool is that to be going back in time?
That's so cool.
Checking
That's
out
so
everything.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you wonder how people can write historical fiction and then you can think, well, maybe they are really time traveling because I don't know if you've ever read
I think
The Outlander with
one from
Claire.
Scotland? Huh?
Yeah, Claire
Yeah.
and Jamie. Yeah, The
Yeah,
Outlander.
that was good. Yeah. Well,
I
a lot of
used to
people
read
have great
those.
imaginations too. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, you can pull from your past lives.
Mm-hmm.
We bring through from lifetime to lifetime a lot of different traits from our past lives. They follow you lifetime to lifetime for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can draw on that as well sometimes.
And that's what when you see somebody and you're like, I felt like I know this person. I have a connection. That's probably their past life.
Well, you do travel lifetime to lifetime with the same soul group. Every archangel has a soul group, and you come back through each lifetime with the same people in the soul group. But there's millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in your soul group. But it's a matter of who you're interacting with, who do you owe karma to, what are you going to do this time? My son, I was looking back to see if we could reincarnate as animals when I was writing my first book. And, I went back on the other side and asked him if we can reincarnate as animals and trees, and I didn't get an answer. So I went back into my Akashic records, which is our book of life, to see where this dog had been in my past life. And lo and behold, my middle son had been my dad. And we saved this man's life. And he came back as the dog in this lifetime. My son had him for 4 years, and I had him for 4 years. Yeah. And when he comes through every now and then he comes through as the man or the dog, and I recognize his energy either way.
Oh, yeah. That is so sweet. That is so precious. I know so many people just have this connection with their dogs. And
I had no idea why I had such a connection with it. It was the freakiest thing in the world. And my son had found him in a box on the Texas-Mexican border as a puppy.
Oh.
And he had him when he was in the service for 4 years, and then he had to give him up. And he used to tease me when I'd go visit him. He's like, Mom, if I swear to God, if I didn't know better, my dog loves you more than me. And I just loved this dog. I don't know. We had such a connection, which I've never had before with somebody's dog. And now I know what to say.
Yeah. Oh, what a gift. I mean, seriously, I know you've changed a lot of people's lives with your insight. And
I try. I hope. I try to help. I can't help everybody, but if I can help somebody, then that's one more person that I've helped.
So you said you're a golfer.
Oh, I love to golf.
When you're playing, do you know if you're going to hit a good shot or a bad shot? Or if
they suck all the time. It doesn't really matter. If I was any good, I'd be out on the league. Right? I'd be out with Tiger Woods. I just play for fun. Some days are good, some days are better.
You don't know the days to put money on your shots.
No.
Oh my goodness, this has been such a great time. I wanted to circle back to the 5 purposes.
Oh, yes. Okay. So my latest book, All's Fair in Love and Karma, was actually the result of my 7-week relationship mastery program.
Okay.
And that program was really geared towards people having issues in relationships. But remember, everything is a relationship. Even business is a relationship. You're in a relationship with your boss, your coworkers, your clients. So the program actually teaches people how to get in touch with their soul, how to recognize energy, how to raise their vibration, how to balance their energy so that they can maintain the law of attraction and understand why things are happening in their lives. So the result of that program was this book. And everyone that's gone through the program, their lives have been amazing. And the 5 lessons they all had to learn were self-worth, trust and communication, unconditional love, money and balance, because money is energy. That's why it's called currency, and patience.
Those are 5 action steps that are so wonderful.
And the universe wants you to think you have free choice, right? free will, but your only free will, honestly, is to whether or not you're going to fast track and learn those lessons and have an amazing life, or whether or not you're going to delay those lessons. And you can delay them your whole lifetime and have to come back next time and have to relearn them. You know, the universe will offer you door 1, 2, and 3. You go through door 1, you get married, you have a couple of kids, you get divorced. Where are you going to be? In front of door 1, 2, and 3 again. Most people are creatures of habit. They're going to take door 1 again. They're going to go through, get married, have a couple more kids, get divorced again. If you learned your lesson, you're not taking door 1 again. You're going to take door 2 or door 3. You may still get married and have more kids, but it's not going to end for the reason that the other two did, because you learned that lesson. This is why we keep choosing the same type of people. We keep bringing the same type of people into our lives. We keep, people will be like, oh, what are you dating her for? She looks like your last girlfriend. No, she doesn't. Meanwhile, they act like copies, right? Copies of each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can
But this is why. You're either here to learn a lesson or teach someone their lesson. And there are 3 different types of relationships, and you'll have lots of them in your life. And the first one is a karmic relationship. The karmic relationship is strictly to pay a karmic debt or collect on yours. And karma is what you make karma in this lifetime. If you do something to someone else and you don't make amends or have remorse, then you owe that person a debt in another lifetime. And you know it's a karmic relationship because it never quite feels right. You're always looking behind you. You're waiting for the shoe to drop or looking for all the red flags, right? That's a karmic relationship. And when one or the other has learned their lesson, it ends immediately. It's like you wake up one morning and say, why do I even have this person in my life? If you both learn the lesson, it ends amicably. If only one or the other has learned the lesson, it ends, but it's not going to be amicable. Then a soulmate relationship, same thing. You're there to learn something or teach something, but it's also there to afford you some love and comfort along the way. Okay. When you meet this person, it just feels really good. Like you said, I feel like I've known them a long time. Sometimes they move along really quickly. Okay. And a soulmate relationship doesn't necessarily have to end when the lesson is learned. It depends on what you wrote into your life plan. Okay. And then the twin flame relationship is extremely rare. Everyone thinks they've got one. Trust me, you don't. There's like 180,000 of couples on the earth at any given time. They are not, this wonderful fairy tale romance like The Notebook. No, they are not. They are devastating. They are literally one soul that's split into 2 bodies and will always reincarnate in 2 separate bodies. At some predetermined time that you've written into your life plan, you will meet, and it will blow your life up. They are always very sexual, very passionate, very psychic, and very short. They last from a few days to a few months. And that's it. When it's over, one of them is in deep fear and they cannot commit to the relationship. And the other one is, it's like a moth to a flame, constantly trying to chase them. It doesn't work. They have to learn the 5 lessons that they're here for, but they also have to get on their life path of helping humanity because they're here for a higher power, for a higher purpose. And when they can do that, they'll have an opportunity to reconnect in this lifetime if they can both do that. Most of them do not reconnect in this lifetime. They're devastating relationships. Your entire world falls apart.
Yeah, I can imagine it's like a combustible, it's...
And it's not anything to do with the people, because twin flames will never even say a bad word to each other. They will never intentionally hurt each other in any way, shape, or form. They don't swear at each other. They don't do those types of things. That's not what it's about. But just the mere fact that one of them ghosts you, you can't understand it because it's such the deepest relationship. You have that connection. You don't understand. It's devastating. Yeah.
I love this. And you're doing sacred travel, right? You're organizing a cruise?
I'm doing a retreat. Yep.
Retreat?
It's a 7-night Western Caribbean and Virgin Island cruise. It's going out the first week of March. There's a few cabins left, and there are 4 workshops that I'll be doing on our days at sea.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be a lot of fun.
Do you picture it being single people going or couples?
There's both. And it's
both?
kind of a reunion for a lot of people that had gone through my relationship coaching program as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
You can reconnect with them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of perks. I got the cruise line that's Norwegian to give us a lot of different perks for the package. And it leaves out of Port Canaveral, Florida.
Oh, that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you go to the website, juneedward.com, you can find all the information on the retreat. It's under events. There's lots of videos that you can watch. There's a free webinar you can sign up for to learn how energy works and see if you're interested in the Relationship Mastery Program. There are links to all of my books on there, including All's Fair in Love and Karma. And you can
Nice.
schedule an appointment with me if you'd like as well.
Oh, I'm so excited, and I'll put a link to your website
Thank
in the
you.
show notes. And just thank you for your time. This has just been a
my
magical
pleasure.
conversation. I know I'm
My
going to
pleasure.
love listening to it over and over.
Well, thank you for having me.